Life often presents the undeniable truth that people come and go. We form deep bonds and connections, anchoring our emotions to these relationships, but the reality of breakups, unrequited feelings, or evolving dynamics can weigh heavily on us. This raises difficult questions. How can one stop caring? Is it possible to detach emotionally without losing a part of oneself? Stoicism, particularly the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, provides a powerful framework for navigating these emotional challenges. The Stoics were not about suppressing feelings or becoming detached in a cold, indifferent way. Instead, they believed in understanding emotions and learning how to manage them to maintain clarity and inner peace. This guide outlines 5 Stoic rules for emotionally detaching, inspired by Aurelius's wisdom. These principles are not just theoretical. They offer practical advice for reevaluating how you engage with both yourself and others. The first rule emphasizes the importance of accepting the impermanence of life and relationships, allowing one to move forward with resilience. 1. Understanding impermanence, embracing the art of letting go. The concept of impermanence is one of the most profound yet challenging truths of existence. To truly understand it is to shift how we interact with life, relationships, and even ourselves. In Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius captured this reality when he wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." This insight extends to how we view our attachments and interactions. At the heart of understanding impermanence lies the acceptance that everything in life, every relationship, every achievement, even our own existence, is temporary. Far from being bleak, this understanding can be profoundly liberating when approached through a Stoic lens. Imagine standing on a beach, holding a handful of sand. The tighter you clench your fist, the quicker the grains slip through your fingers. The more you try to preserve each grain, the more you lose them. This natural law reflects our human condition. The more desperately we hold on to people, moments, or possessions, the more acutely we feel their inevitable passing. Accepting impermanence, then, is not about succumbing to sadness but learning to experience life more fully and peacefully, embracing its fleeting nature. One of the common traps we fall into is creating narratives that anchor us emotionally to people and circumstances. These stories might include notions like "they will always be there for me" or "this happiness will last forever." Yet life is rarely so linear or predictable. A friendship you cherished for years might drift due to changing life paths. A romantic partner who once seemed like your forever may evolve in a way that no longer aligns with you. Our attachment to these ideas of permanence is often what causes the deepest emotional turmoil when reality diverges from expectation. The Stoics, and Marcus Aurelius in particular, recognized that clinging to a false sense of constancy was a source of unnecessary suffering. Instead, they taught that by embracing impermanence, we could face the world with clarity and a calm mind. This philosophy doesn't teach detachment in the sense of coldness but rather advocates for a warm, conscious awareness that all things, beautiful as they are, will pass. When you grasp this, it shifts how you value the present. Each moment becomes more precious, each interaction more meaningful because you understand it could be the last in that exact form. Take, for example, a long-standing friendship. When you accept its impermanent nature, you no longer fear the slow fade of connection or cling with anxious desperation to keep things unchanged. Instead, you appreciate each conversation and shared laugh as it happens. You understand that life is dynamic, and holding on to the present too tightly blinds you to the beauty of change and growth. In my own life, I once had a decade-long friendship with someone I deeply trusted and admired. We shared our dreams, supported each other through hardships, and built memories that seemed woven into the fabric of my existence. However, as the years went by, our paths diverged. New experiences reshaped us in different ways. Initially, I fought against this reality, clutching desperately to what our friendship used to be. The weight of that emotional clinging was immense, like an anchor that kept me from moving forward. Only when I reflected on Marcus Aurelius's teachings did I realize I needed to release that grip. I needed to accept that relationships are transient, each serving its unique purpose in our lives. By embracing the impermanence, I felt lighter. I could cherish what that friendship had given me without resenting its transformation. I became free to forge new connections and experiences without the shadow of past attachments clouding my judgment. Understanding impermanence doesn't mean becoming indifferent or detached from joy. It means leaning into life fully, knowing that change is the only constant. When we stop resisting this, we develop a richer appreciation for every moment and every person who crosses our path. Imagine living each day as if it were your last interaction with someone you love. How much more patient, kind, and attentive would you be? You might listen more deeply, speak more thoughtfully, and laugh with greater abandon. The Stoics believe that when you understand that life is impermanent, you learn to live without the paralyzing fear of loss. You find gratitude in what is, without mourning what was or fearing what might be. In a world where we constantly strive for control and certainty, embracing impermanence teaches us the ultimate paradox. True peace comes not from holding on but from letting go. Marcus Aurelius once advised to receive without pride, let go without attachment. In this simple but powerful directive lies the secret to emotional liberation. When you truly understand that people come and go, that joy is fleeting and pain is temporary, you begin to detach not from life, but from your need to control life. This shift allows you to be more present, more resilient, and paradoxically, more connected to the very fabric of existence itself. It is in this understanding that you find not sadness but an empowering freedom, a reminder that while everything is temporary, the experience of each moment is timeless. 2. Mastering emotions through rational thought, the Stoic's path to inner strength. Imagine standing on a cliff as a storm rages around you. The wind pulls at your clothes, the roar of the sea below is deafening, and the rain lashes at your skin. In that moment, fear, panic, or awe may seize you, emotions that seem natural, unstoppable. But what if I told you that the ancient Stoics believed it was possible to master these feelings, not by suppressing them but by rationally understanding their roots and reframing your response? The Stoic philosophers, particularly figures like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, developed a profound approach to handling emotions. They did not see emotions as enemies but as elements of our mind that could be tamed through the discipline of rational thought. To master one's emotions, the Stoics argued, was to transform one's relationship with life itself, moving from being a passive recipient of feelings to an active shaper of responses. Emotions as alerts, not rulers. To appreciate the Stoic view, it's essential to see emotions for what they are, signals. When you feel fear, anger, or sadness, these emotions are your mind's way of alerting you to something, whether a threat, an injustice, or a loss. The problem, however, arises when emotions go unchecked, spiraling into reactions that cloud your judgment or spur you into regrettable actions. This is where the Stoic principle of rational thought comes into play. The Stoics believe that humans possess the unique ability to reason, to pause between stimulus and response, and to dissect the nature of their emotions. If anger flares because someone has insulted you, for instance, a Stoic would suggest examining why this insult bothers you. Is it because it wounds your pride? Is it rooted in a fear of being undervalued by others? By breaking down the emotional reaction and seeking its rational cause, you weaken its grip. Marcus Aurelius's meditative practice. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome, is an embodiment of mastering emotions through reason. His meditations are filled with reminders to himself to approach life's challenges with a calm, rational mind. One notable example is his advice. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This mantra is a call to focus on what lies within our control, which includes our perceptions and reactions. When emotions arise, Marcus would remind himself to trace them back to their origin, asking, is this anger justified? Is this fear logical? This process isn't about denying the initial surge of emotion but interrogating it until its power fades. Think of rational thought as a finely honed sword, cutting through the tangled thickets of emotion. It doesn't mean you are immune to the quick pang of fear or the sting of disappointment, but it means you have the tools to reclaim your composure. When life throws chaos your way, be it criticism from a colleague, a relationship betrayal, or the stress of uncertainty, a Stoic approach would be to recognize the emotion, pause, and engage the rational mind. Seneca put it aptly. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Anxiety, for example, thrives on scenarios spun by the mind, magnifying worries into towering fears. But what if you took a step back and questioned those thoughts? What actual evidence do I have that this outcome will come to pass? If it did, could I not endure it? This shift, from reacting to reasoning, takes away the wind from the sails of anxiety. The Stoics' practices anticipated modern cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which is founded on the principle that our thoughts influence our emotions and actions. One powerful technique is cognitive reappraisal, where you reinterpret the meaning of a situation to alter its emotional impact. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic, and your first instinct is rage. A Stoic would advise pausing to consider alternative explanations. Perhaps they are rushing to an emergency. By reframing your perception, your anger dissipates into a fleeting thought. To master emotions through rational thought is not to live without feelings. It is to lead with wisdom, to be the calm in the storm while others are swept away. This path requires consistent practice, like training a muscle, but over time, it becomes second nature. When faced with joy, sadness, love, or anger, you learn to experience them fully without being controlled by them. This mastery brings an inner strength that cannot be shaken by external events, a freedom Marcus Aurelius spoke of when he wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." In a world that bombards us with reasons to react instinctively, mastering your emotions through rational thought is an act of rebellion and liberation. It's not about becoming detached or emotionless. It's about wielding your intellect as both a shield and a compass. So, the next time an emotional tempest begins to stir, remember that within you lies the ability to pause, think, and transform the storm into a breeze. 3. Negative visualization, the art of imagining loss to appreciate life. Picture this: you're sitting in your living room, surrounded by familiar sights and sounds. Your phone buzzes, the subtle hum of the dishwasher murmurs in the background, and the warmth of a loved one's presence fills the space. But now, close your eyes for a moment and imagine this scene disappearing. The phone call? An emergency with unwelcome news. The warmth? Suddenly gone, a void in its place. The comforts and constants you often take for granted? They could, in the blink of an eye, be swept away. This may sound unsettling, even morbid, but to the Stoics, this exercise is one of the most powerful ways to cultivate gratitude and resilience. It's called negative visualization, a practice that may seem counterintuitive at first but holds deep wisdom. It's not about pessimism or preparing for the worst. It's about seeing clearly the transient nature of life's blessings to value them more keenly in the present. Facing loss to treasure what we have. The concept of negative visualization dates back to Stoic philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. Their teachings remind us that humans are wired to adapt quickly to new circumstances, a trait known as hedonic adaptation. Whether we achieve great successes or accumulate material wealth, the initial thrill fades, and soon we are left chasing the next goal, perpetually dissatisfied. The Stoics observed that people rarely pause to appreciate what they have until it is threatened or lost. Negative visualization flips the script. Instead of waiting for life to snatch away your comforts to remind you of their value, you preemptively imagine what life would be like without them. Seneca, for instance, would advise readers to picture losing a prized possession, a job, or even a cherished relationship. Not because he believed in courting sorrow, but because he knew that contemplating these losses makes you hold what you have with more reverence. The counterintuitive path to peace. Consider this: a parent looking at their sleeping child. The natural instinct is to feel love and relief. But a Stoic might take this further by briefly envisioning life without the child, not to dwell in grief, but to be pulled into a sharper sense of appreciation. It's the subtle jolt that shakes you awake to the fragile and fleeting nature of life. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you do not have, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours." The practice, though daunting, yields a surprising outcome: peace. When you imagine the loss of things you love, it reshapes your mindset. Your morning coffee isn't just a routine. It becomes a cherished ritual. The conversations with friends become vibrant, the laughter a symphony you don't take for granted. Life, even in its mundane moments, begins to shine with a new luster, training the mind for resilience. But negative visualization isn't solely about deepening gratitude, it also fortifies the mind against future setbacks. By envisioning potential losses, you are rehearsing for challenges before they occur. Think of it as mental weightlifting. When a crisis does strike, you are not caught off guard, paralyzed by the shock. You've mentally walked through that space before, felt the pang, and built the strength to face it. Epictetus emphasized this when he taught, "He who has properly trained himself to face the worst has robbed misfortune of its power." This form of cognitive preparation doesn't remove the pain of real loss but tempers its sting. You are still human, and grief, disappointment, and sadness will touch your life. But the depth of your suffering will not drown you as easily, for you've become acquainted with the shadows and taught yourself to find light in them. Reclaiming life's wonder. Modern life tends to lull us into complacency. We scroll, we multitask, and we race through days forgetting their intrinsic worth. Negative visualization snaps us back into awareness. It's a reminder that today is not just another day but an opportunity teeming with moments that may never come again. To engage in this practice, start with simple steps. In the morning, reflect for a few minutes on what you hold most dear. Picture your life without one of those elements, be it your home, a loved one, or even your health. Let that imagined absence draw you back into gratitude. Feel the richness of their presence anew. You may notice that this perspective changes the way you respond throughout your day. Petty irritations shrink, and moments of beauty expand. In a world where people often chase after the next best thing, negative visualization invites you to reverse that pursuit, to stand still, look around, and see what you already have withal. It's a practice that transforms ordinary life into a masterpiece, reminding you that the art of truly living lies not just in acquiring but in deeply appreciating. 4. Focusing on what you can control, the key to freedom amid chaos. Imagine a ship sailing through tumultuous seas. The wind roars, the waves crash, and the storm clouds loom menacingly overhead. The captain, standing firm at the wheel, knows one thing: he cannot change the storm, redirect the winds, or calm the ocean. But what he can do is steer. He grips the wheel tightly, guiding his vessel through the chaos with calculated moves and unwavering focus. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you cannot. The Stoic principle of concentrating on what lies within your power has endured for centuries not just because it sounds wise but because it is wise. It is the ultimate antidote to modern anxiety, an ancient philosophy that whispers, "You may not control your circumstances, but you can control your response." It's simple, yet profoundly liberating. The illusion of control. In life, many find themselves ensnared by the illusion of control. People plan meticulously, striving for a sense of security and predictability. But when reality unravels those plans, a job lost, a relationship strained, an unexpected illness, it often plunges them into frustration and despair. Why? Because they spend their energy wrestling with what was never truly theirs to command. The Stoics, however, saw life through a different lens. They understood that the mind suffers more from the chaos it creates within itself than from the actual chaos outside. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, stated, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." In these words lies the secret to serenity. Instead of expending effort on external outcomes, which are capriciously out of reach, Stoicism guides us to hone in on the inner domain where true power resides. The two domains, external and internal. To understand this principle, imagine two spheres, one vast, representing all things you cannot control, weather, politics, other people's opinions, and a smaller, innermost sphere representing what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, and your attitudes. The key to mastering this philosophy is learning to identify where your efforts belong. Every time you try to influence the outer sphere, you risk frustration. But when you operate within your own sphere, you reclaim a measure of peace and empowerment. Take Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, who faced wars, plagues, and political betrayals. Despite his power, he wrote in Meditations. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This idea was not a mere thought experiment for him. It was how he led his empire and found calm in chaos. Applying this to daily life. Consider a situation at work where a team project spirals out of control. Deadlines are missed, and tensions run high. You might find yourself losing sleep, caught in the mental loop of what ifs and if onlys. But here's where Stoicism steps in. Instead of trying to change the behavior of others or fix every unforeseen hiccup, it suggests redirecting your energy. What can you control? Your effort, your communication, your composure. When you accept what is outside your influence, you don't surrender to failure, you realign with what is truly possible. This shift in perspective transforms how you engage with problems. No longer overwhelmed by everything that could go wrong, you become like the captain of that storm-tossed ship, focused on your steering, eyes on the horizon, unshaken by what the sea throws your way. The power of letting go. Focusing on what you can control doesn't imply passive acceptance or apathy. Rather, it's an active choice to redirect energy to where it is most effective. When faced with an argument, for instance, trying to win someone's approval or change their viewpoint often leads to frustration. But altering how you communicate, choosing patience over anger, is entirely within your realm. Over time, you learn that while you may not win every debate, you gain mastery over yourself, a victory that counts more. Letting go is an art. It is learning to step back when you've done all you can, to understand that striving beyond your power leads only to wasted energy. Imagine holding a rope tied to a boulder. Pulling with all your might won't move the stone but will fray your hands. Releasing the rope doesn't mean the stone disappears. It simply means your energy isn't consumed by the impossible. A life of focus and freedom. The Stoics were not detached from the world. They lived fully but did so with a sharp awareness of what could be influenced. In doing so, they found freedom. Their philosophy teaches that you can engage in your life more effectively when you are not paralyzed by the things you cannot change. You become adaptable, resilient, and more present. So the next time life throws its inevitable storm your way, remember to check your hand on the wheel. The winds will rage as they may, but your response, calm, steady, and controlled, will chart your course. And in that act lies your true strength. Acceptance and perspective, the art of seeing clearly amidst life's chaos. Imagine standing before a vast, unyielding mountain range, its peaks cutting sharply into the sky and its valleys shrouded in shadow. You have two choices. You can rage against their presence, expending energy wishing they were flatter, easier to climb, more forgiving, or you can shift your view, see the mountain for what it truly is, and accept that your journey must navigate its slopes as they are. The concept of acceptance and perspective in Stoic philosophy is much like this. It's about facing life with eyes wide open, embracing what is, and finding the power hidden in shifting how you see it. Acceptance, a quiet revolution. The word acceptance can conjure up images of resignation or passivity, but Stoicism breathes new life into this idea. True acceptance isn't a retreat, it's an act of courage. It is choosing to meet reality on its own terms, to stop fighting against the waves and instead learn to ride them. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and Stoic thinker, famously wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This isn't just poetic wisdom, it's a call to transformative resilience. To accept is not to give up. It is to acknowledge what is so you can decide what to do next. Think of a warrior preparing for battle. If he spends all his energy cursing the rain or lamenting the strength of his opponent, he loses before the fight begins. But if he sees things clearly, wet ground, fierce competitor, he can adapt, sharpen his strategies, and use the very elements against his foe. Acceptance, therefore, is not the end, it is the beginning. Perspective, the lens that shapes reality. While acceptance allows you to see reality, perspective changes how you interpret it. Epictetus, another revered Stoic, taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This underscores a powerful truth. Between the event and your reaction lies your power to choose. Perspective is the hidden alchemy that transforms suffering into strength, obstacles into stepping stones, and frustration into focus. Imagine looking through a window on a rainy day. You could fixate on the inconvenience of the downpour, bemoaning your spoiled plans. Or you could notice the way the rain nourishes the earth, the rhythmic tapping that brings calm, the cleansing of streets. Same rain, different view. This simple shift changes not just what you see but how you feel about it. In life, perspective is your internal compass, guiding you through unpredictable terrain. When faced with disappointment, a missed promotion, a sudden change of plans, it's natural to feel disheartened. But Stoicism offers an intriguing twist. It invites you to step back and ask, "What can I learn from this?" Or, "What new path does this open for me?" Suddenly, the roadblock isn't a dead end, it's a chance to reroute, perhaps even towards something better. The dance between acceptance and perspective. Acceptance and perspective are twin pillars holding up a Stoic life. One is incomplete without the other. Acceptance grounds you in reality. Perspective gives you wings to rise above it. To illustrate, think of a painter. The canvas before them may be flawed or unexpectedly textured. Acceptance means recognizing the canvas as it is. But perspective allows the artist to see that the flaw could be incorporated, transformed into part of a greater masterpiece. By blending these two, life's most challenging moments become not just survivable but meaningful. A sudden illness could inspire deeper gratitude for moments of health. A career setback could reveal unappreciated strengths or unexplored passions. Each event, accepted and viewed through a balanced perspective, becomes a chapter in a story where growth, not despair, is the theme. The wisdom of the ancients, the challenge of today. In our modern, hyper-connected world, where comparison and distraction are omnipresent, mastering acceptance and perspective is more critical than ever. The Stoics lived in times of war, exile, and uncertainty, yet they found clarity and peace through these principles. Today, when life feels overwhelming, pausing to accept circumstances as they are and then choosing a perspective that empowers rather than diminishes us is a form of modern-day Stoicism. When you wake up tomorrow, remember this: you may not control the weather, the traffic, or even the attitudes of those around you. But you can control how you face them. Acceptance grants you serenity, and perspective grants you power. Together, they form a foundation that allows you to navigate life's storms with grace and emerge stronger, wiser, and unbroken. The Stoic approach to emotional detachment is not about suppressing feelings or isolating oneself but about cultivating resilience and control over how we respond to life's fluctuations. When we recognize that we are part of an interconnected web of experiences, we can break free from the tunnel vision created by emotional attachment. This allows us to engage with life fully while maintaining inner peace and clarity. Emotional detachment, in the Stoic sense, is an act of self-liberation. It involves accepting impermanence, mastering emotions through rational thought, and broadening our perspective to see beyond immediate feelings. This approach encourages us to question our reactions. Do we control our emotions, or do they control us? By daring to release the tight grip on people or things, we open the door to emotional freedom and find a path to lasting inner peace.